Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so stuff to talk about in regards to the LA Lakers, man. Some things to talk about. First of all, Lakers seem like they want to booster their backcourt position with more defensively sound players. Hopefully, moving Maxi Kleber, Dalton Connect, maybe Gabe Vincent, maybe Rui Hachimura. It seems like they're looking to booster the guard spot in some type of trade. Um, I did a trade tracker with the Drew Holiday rumor that's going around, and what the Lakers would have to give up is Rui expiring, Dalton, of course, $4 million, and Maxi Kleber expiring. Now Rui's making $18 million, and Maxi's making 11. I wouldn't mind giving up all of that stuff, but not in a contract like that coming back my way. Now with Drew Holiday at 35 years of age, making $35 million a year for 3 years is not a contract anybody should be trading for in this collective bargaining agreement. I like Drew Holiday, the player, when he's younger, on a contract that I can live with, but that cancer risk contract needs to stay in Portland. They were dumb enough to trade for it. They added first round picks to get it. They gotta sit on that. And I understand he's probably unhappy to be there. That was the rumor. Fine, they got to buy it out. It's their contract to hold, man. I'm not absorbing that, and no one else should either. That's a horrible contract. It should have never been signed. Um, he's starting to decline, and because I'm aware of that, there's no part of me that wants to pay him $35 million for the next 3 years. That's not even reasonable. That contract shouldn't even exist. That should be bought out. So yeah, Drew Holiday is out. I'm not even looking in that direction seriously if I'm the Lakers. No. I like Drew Holiday. Like I said, if they buy him out, I'm excited about having him. I'm excited about having anybody at the right price that I think can still give us something. You know what I mean? Drew Holiday on a $10 million contract is absolutely so it's amazing. It's the best thing in the world. But him on a $35 million contract, guaranteed 3 years. Oh man, I can't do that. So I never thought that. I don't think that rumor holds any weight. I think that's Portland putting that rumor out there, hoping that somebody would take the bait and be stupid enough to do it, um, like they were stupid enough to do it. And I hate to tell Portland this, but you're the dumbest on the planet. No one's dumb as you. No one's doing that. So that is what it is. What else is going on? So I'm hearing the Lakers could be interested or are engaged in trade talks. Is the words that are put out there. How true that is, I'm not certain. With the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't know if they plan on doing both deals or one deal or whichever comes first. I don't know how this is actually going, but it looks like the Lakers want KCP back. He's in Memphis now. Got traded in the Desmond Bane trade from Orlando. He's not going to likely play any games in Memphis. They're going to try to move him now. And Dante DiVincenzo from Minnesota had a year there. Of course, he came over in the Cat trade. Dante is a bricklayer. That's the problem with Dante DiVincenzo. What I learned from Dante is he can help you in a lot of different areas, but sort of like Marcus Smart, he don't have a conscience, and he's going to brick a lot. I already got that player in Marcus Smart. I don't need two of those. Just being honest. Now, Dante DiVincenzo, if he can get his shot together, is a helpful piece going forward. Nice role player, proven playoff performer. But I watched the Minnesota Timberwolves throughout the course of the playoffs put that guy on the floor. He did a lot of good things on the offensive end and shot them out of basketball games on the offensive end. Shot them out of the basketball games. Defensively, he was better than people think. He made all his money on the defensive end. He'd get two steals, 2 blocks. And I mean, he get a couple assists, couple boards. He does a lot of good things, but he bricks. He just bricks, and that's why Minnesota's moving on from him because he catered to why their offense was so inconsistent. He was one of the main reasons why that offense was so damn inconsistent. So I know better than to bring in Dante DiVincenzo expecting to be pleased with what he's going to bring me. If he's not a consistent scorer. He's just not. He's going to shoot like he is, though, and that's a bit of a problem that we already have in Marcus Smart. That's one of his problems. So if you want two different players that are on the floor for defense going 1 for 7 from behind the arc in a given basketball game, you go ahead and put them two together, but I kind of know better to do that. So, yeah, I don't think I'd be overly thrilled about Dante DiVincenzo joining this unit. I like the tenacity defensively that we could potentially have on the floor, but Lakers got to understand you only need 2 guards on the floor at one given time. So you got Austin, who's going to demand a lot of minutes at all times. Luka, who's Luka the Don. You already have Bronny James in the wing. Somehow he's going to have to get some kind of playing time, some way, and somehow, how that works. I don't mind adding more guards. Marcus Smart, of course, already in place. I don't mind adding more guards. But I don't want to overkill the guy who thinks he's a better offensive player than he is, but really can play some defense. Archetype. I don't want to overdo that. I know what that looks like. It's you going on long runs where you don't score because they're jacking up shots. And it's LeBron James and Luka the Don and Austin Reeves getting irritated with them dudes because they think they're better than they are on the offensive end. And those possessions need to be quality. You know, there's something that's really important about winning basketball, in my opinion. Quality possessions, man. Making sure that each and every executing play is executed properly. It's too many times where you're trying to get stops, but the same players who get stops come down and do something bad on the offensive end. So it balances itself out in the end. You look great on the defensive end, but then they're just hoisting bricks at the wall, hoisting. That's what you don't want to have happen trying to make yourself good defensively. It's guys taking away possessions from stars, thinking they're Superman when they really bricklayers. So that's really my concern. I got one of those guys in Marcus Smart. I'm happy to have him. The next guy you bring in cannot be a bricklayer, bro. Who's going to do all the stuff on the defensive end. I don't need too many of that archetype, especially at the guard spot. I don't need that. And you got to understand something. Austin is a bit of a bricklayer at times. He tends to overshoot. He tends to be aggressive, missing layups, aggressive shooting threes and breaking and stuff. We had a lot of problems with him doing that last year. So he kind of takes away from some of the efficiency also. So if you're going to double down on that type of archetype and you got Austin in the mix, you're going to break a lot of shots. Your offensive rating is going to draw backwards because of the over intention on bringing in defensive players. Defensive players sometimes just think that they can score. And that is a problem with Dante and Marcus. If they just had a bit more self-awareness to say, yo, let's get the ball to Luka and let him score, we'll come down and exert all of our energy offensively, then you'd be cool. But that's not who they are. That's not who they are. You can't tell them they're not Michael Jordan out there. And I don't like that type of mentality in too many players. One of them dudes enough. One is, don't make the other guy that guy too. Yeah, so that's what I got to say about Dante. I'm out on Dante. I'm out. He irritated the hell out of me while I was rooting for the Minnesota Timberwolves throughout the course of these playoffs. He bricks shots too damn much, man. Most of the shots he takes don't go in. Period. KCP's getting old. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with the KCP thing. I like the KCP we had. The KCP he is not the KCP we had. A lot of that balance and athleticism, speed, a lot of that's been drawn away from him. A lot of that perimeter defense, stuff like that's not who he is anymore. Father Time is starting to catch up. That's why I'm kind of cool on KCP too. I like the idea of KCP. I remember what he was when he won championships with us. I also remember some of the times he was on the floor struggling because we had him for a number of years before we even won the championship. KCP was one of the first real role guys that we brought in when we started to fix our situation. So we had him for 2 or 3 years. Some of them years was cool. Some of the years were not. When a guy's proven to have won a championship in 2 different situations, his name is going to carry him from then on out. But I don't want to bring in a player that I have an idea about him being one thing and he comes in and doesn't give me that, and now I'm kind of stuck with him too. So maybe I just don't have the right view on these people. I got a idea that maybe we're trying to recapture the Danny Green thing. Like maybe if we can bring these guys in, they'll be Danny Green for us or something. Or give us some of that. But I'm telling you, man, we do need to get better defensively. But who we ask to play defense for us is a very sensitive thing because a lot of defensive players they can't play offense. Now, mind you, you still got Vanderbilt, so that's the thing too. You got to understand he can't score worth a damn. Um, I've heard rumors as well about Matisse Thybulle and maybe Robert Williams. You know, Robert Williams, if he's healthy, he's still actually young enough to produce and feel great about him. But he's like the youngest. He's the oldest 27-year-old ever play the game because his body's already begun to deteriorate. His knees have been shot. The Boston Celtics overplayed him instead of letting him heal, leaning on him for every damn thing back in that era, and I think they just kind of deteriorated his body completely. So he's averaged 20 games a season since he's been in the league. I would love to have him. He's an expiring contract, $11 million. Pairing him up with Marcus Smart would make Boston Celtics fans cry for a long time. So the idea of just bringing those two together and putting them in purple and gold is something that is increasingly interesting to me now that we've gotten Marcus Smart. And DeAndre Ayton, I think he's in a role where he can kind of not be asked to do as much for us as maybe we would have asked him to do prior to. So I'm a bit higher on bringing in Robert Williams, taking a flyer on him, taking a chance. You know, I think that could be interesting. Matisse Thybulle, defensively, is always somebody interesting. His age is interesting. I have more questions about why he hasn't been able to be on a basketball floor in both the situations he's been in. Why didn't Portland try to play him more? Why didn't Philly play him more? And I don't really have the answers to those questions, so I'm not really certain that my skepticism is well merited. I saw him shoot his best basketball game against the Lakers. I think he hit like 6 threes against us one year, maybe 2 years ago when he first got to Portland. So I understand why people may want to trade for Matisse Thybulle. High character guy, great defensive player. Why hasn't it worked? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe you bring him in. Do I give up Dalton Knecht in a trade to get him and Robert Williams? No. That's what it comes down to. Does it necessarily make sense for the Portland Trailblazers to make that deal if Dalton's not involved in it? If we're sending them, say, Maxi Kleber and Gabe Vincent? No. It makes no sense for Portland. Now, has Portland done anything to make any sense lately? No. But I don't expect them to do that. I don't expect Portland to do that. So I'm kind of out on that trade. I do like the idea of bringing in Robert Williams. Matisse Thybulle, I don't think the combination of Robert Williams potentially playing 20 games and Matisse Thybulle being a guy who potentially end up not necessarily earning minutes is worth me giving up on Dalton Knecht. I do think that Dalton Knecht maybe should be moved, but not for those dudes. Not for those dudes. So the names that the Lakers are interested in bringing in are very exciting. The game of the guys that the Lakers are bringing in, I don't know complement what we're doing if they play as poorly as I know them to play. KCP, he's coming off a bad year with Orlando. If he gives us a bad year, we're not happy to have traded anything good to get him. Donte DiVincenzo, to his core, is a bricklayer. That is what he is. He's going to brick a lot of shots. That's what he does. He is not an efficient basketball player, but he loves to shoot like he is. It's a bricklayer. I'm not excited about bringing in bricklayer, bro. I didn't like none of that stuff I saw from him on the offensive end in Minnesota, and I'm not coming off of that. He looked bad to me. Now, he looked pretty good in New York before he got there, but the last version of him I saw was a guy that's just going to miss all kinds of shots and then do all kinds of stuff on the defensive end that's supposed to be making up for it, but it doesn't actually equate to that. He stole some minutes from Nah. I will say that. Donte DiVincenzo did outplay Nah. And Nah just signed a huge contract with the Atlanta Hawks. They're going to find out he a bricklayer too. That's what it really comes down to. Some of these defensive guys, role players, the reason why they're not higher-toted players, the reason why they're not more, the reason why they're not better than what they are is because they don't. A lot of these dudes don't have any conscience about their limitations offensively. Dante DiVincenzo, Marcus Smart, several of them. They don't understand that they're not scorers. They can't score like that. You guys defend at an NBA level. You do not score at an NBA level. And if you don't have the self-awareness to know that, and you think that you're supposed to be going out there just trying to be Tracy McGrady or Kobe or something like that, you're going to hurt your team more than you help them. And they're going to need you out there to defend, but then you're going to come down with ego on the forefront of your mind and just take possessions away from your team on the offensive end. I steer clear of those archetypes, bro. I steer clear of them. So that's really my concern. I don't really find myself too excited about none of the people, man. I don't. Do they help us in the areas we need help? Yes, they're defensive players. Do I expect that they won't eat away at our offensive overall rating? No, I expect they're going to eat away at our offensive rating. And if you start pairing too many of these pieces together, which is something that I said that we need to get better at, you got to know what can sit next to what plays well next to what can't mix with one another. You can pick players from all over the world and bring them to you, but if they don't mesh, you got garbage. That's the concern. Have we gotten better at that, or are we still trying to bring ourselves things that can't play well with what we have or mesh well with what it is we're building? So that's my concern, man. Dante, age-wise, I think is probably the best one. He's probably the best one for the age, because he's younger and he's proven to have played well in the playoffs very recently. Robert gets hurt. KCP's old. Matisse, I'm just not sure. And because I'm not sure, I'm not comfortable. That's what it is with Matisse. He's just been a bench warmer, and when he's supposed to be a great defender, I don't see why he'd be a bench warmer. So I'm afraid I'm going to find out if I put him in my uniform. That's what I'm afraid of. And that I would have given up something that potentially could turn out to be really good, trying to bring in this defensive player that ultimately ain't going to be that great. I'm interested in Josh Okogie. I think he kind of fits the bill. I think he's a bit more balanced on the offensive end. He doesn't try to do too much. Man, he's a bigger body, so you can play him multiple positions. I can see him playing some 4, 3, maybe some 2. I think Josh Okogie should be on the list of players we try to get. We don't have to give up nothing to get him. Just pick him up as a free agent. Age, 27, something like that, 26. He's played pretty well in limited minutes in the different places he's been. I think he's probably more of a piece that I would be interested in. I think those other guys with those names are a bit more of a ceiling raiser. Dante's a ceiling raiser. KCP, ceiling raiser. Do you want that stuff for that reason? But I just don't know if it's going to translate to you being pleased with what you see on a given night with them dudes. So that's my thing. And plus you got to give up stuff to get them. So that's what concerns me. So yeah, man, I hate to be a Debbie Downer. You know me. I come at things at a different angle a lot of times. A lot of Laker fans are super excited about these names. KCP coming back. I was in a space where I was cool with moving on from KCP when we did. I don't think we were in the most responsible space from which to do so based on how our roster was set up when he left. But in a nutshell, I thought he had stayed as long as I wanted him to stay. That was my thing with KCP. I was cool. Yeah, KCP's nice. I like KCP. He won a championship with him? Yeah. But I just felt like, not everybody needs to be a Laker lifer. We had him. Brought him back. I think he played 4 or 5 years with the Lakers. I had seen him at his best. I had seen him at his worst. I was at peace when we moved off of KCP. So I'm still at peace, to be honest with you, especially now that he's starting to reach Father Time. I don't think I'll be angry to bring him back or anything like that. I'm not like I'm saying, no, keep him far away from here. But just in a nutshell, I don't know that I need KCP on this roster. Not necessarily. I may need what he does. I don't know that I necessarily need him to do it, if that makes any sense. Not as he's starting to age. Maybe this is a situation where you need what these guys bring, and I just don't have a taste for the flavor they bring to teams. That's probably what's going on here. You need a defensive player that can help you this, that, and the other. Problem is, every one of these dudes that do that have a problem on the offensive end, and I'm not willing to put next to Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, and Marcus Smart specifically. See, that's what it really comes down to. I'm assessing what I already have. I'm assessing what the other guys don't do in other areas. And then I'm looking what they do and don't do. And I'm saying, damn it, that stuff doesn't mix. These ingredients, you need them to complement one another. But I don't think it's going to actually do that. It's not going to equate to that. You'll cover up one hole, which is some of your defensive issues. But then you make yourself significantly worse offensively. And it ends up balancing itself out to where you're still not helping yourself. That's the problem that I think you have with bringing in Dante DiVincenzo specifically, and potentially aging a KCP. So yeah, that's really what it is, man. Best case scenario, Portland buys out Jrue Holiday, we sign him, and we sign Josh Okogie in my mind. That's how we got to do that. I don't know that that's actually going to happen though. Portland is Portland. As I said, I don't think there's anybody doing things more stupid than Portland is right now. Portland is doing all types of wacky stuff. They need to fire Joe Cronin. Until they do so, it's all bad for them, in my humble opinion. So that's pretty much what I got to say. My name is BDF44. I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.